going to be showing you how to crochet the pumpkin cup cozy. This is in replacement of the cardboard sleeves that you sometimes get with your coffee. I've noticed that I actually don't get one every time now, so having one of these in your bag will be super handy for pumpkin spice season. I will show you how to make the pumpkin applique to go on the sleeve, but you could of course keep it plain so it would just look like this all the way around, or you could add a different applique of your choice. You could do a heart, a star, an apple, maybe a cute little Christmas pudding or something for when we get into the festive season. The possibilities are endless, but I will show you how to crochet the basic sleeve and then the applique at the end. So I make my cozies a little bit taller than the standard cardboard ones, just for extra comfort when holding your hot beverage of choice. But that is personal preference. If you wanted to make it even taller or a little bit shorter so that it was the same size, I will show you how to do that. Just bear in mind that that then takes away space for the applique. Let's begin. For this project, you will need some yarn. I am using this Life Chunky from Stylecraft in natural neep. This is a wool, acrylic and viscose blend. That will be for the little tweed bits here. You don't have to use a wool blend. A standard acrylic would be fine. This says chunky, but it is on the thinner side, and we will be using a 5mm hook, so you may be okay with a normal Aran weight yarn, a weight 4. As I say, this is on the thinner side. Along with your crochet hook, I'm using a size 5mm, and this is my trusty Clover Amour. I absolutely love these hooks. You may want a tape measure, or if you have a little cardboard sleeve handy, this is good for checking your sizing. You will need some scissors, and you will also need a darning needle. So these are your supplies, and now we can begin. So to begin, we are going to take our yarn and create a slip knot. So to do mine, I create a sort of backwards C, insert my index finger, my thumb, twist, and then grab that yarn that's just going over my finger and pull to create a loop. I can then insert my hook through the loop and just pull the tail to tighten. Now, to begin our cup cozy, we are going to start by chaining 30. So yarn over from the back and pull through. That's your first chain. Yarn over from the back and pull through for your second, and you're going to complete that until you have 30 chains. So now that I have chained 30 and we are ready to begin our first row, we are going to start by working a half double crochet into the second chain from the hook. So this is your first one, and then the next one over is the second, and we are going to half double crochet into that chain. So yarn over, insert your hook into that chain and pull up a loop, so you will have 3 loops on your hook. You then yarn over and pull through all 3 of those loops. And there is your first half double crochet. You will now half double crochet into each chain along until you have a total of 29 half double crochet. So yarn over, insert your hook and pull up a loop, so you have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through, and there is your second half double crochet. Yarn over, insert your hook into the chain, pull up a loop, so you have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through. So we're just going to complete that in each chain along until we have a total of 29. If you find that working into the chain is quite tricky, if your chain is perhaps a bit too tight, you may want to complete the chain with a larger hook size. You could use a 5.5mm or even a 6mm just to do that initial chain, and then switch to the 5mm for the half double crochets. That will just give you chains that are a little bit looser with a bit more room to work in. This is a particularly good tip for beginners because you will often find that if you are new to crochet, that when you are doing your chains, you could be pulling the yarn quite tightly, and then that makes it quite difficult to then work into the chains. And you can feel like you're falling at the first hurdle because it then just feels really hard work, and of course you don't want that. So that's a good tip, to just use a larger hook size for the chain to give you a little bit more room to work. Right, so I'm almost at the end, just one more. And there is my final half double crochet. Now that I have my 29 half double crochet for the first row, we are going to want to join the 2 ends of our work together so that we can begin working in the round. And to do that, we are just going to slip stitch the first half double crochet to the one that we have just finished. So I'm going to reinsert my hook. Just hold that tail out of the way if you need to, and then ensuring that your work isn't twisted, you're going to bring the start of your row up to meet the end. You need to find your first half double crochet, and then we are just going to insert our hook under both loops of that stitch. You are going to yarn over, pull through, and then pull through the loop that is on your hook, and there we have created our slip stitch and the row is now joined together. We are now going to chain 1. So at the base of our chain 1, the same stitch to which we slip stitched, we are going to work a half double crochet. So yarn over, insert your hook, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through all loops on your hook. And that is our first stitch of our second row. You are then just going to work a half double crochet into each stitch around until you reach the end. Your stitch count for this row will be 29, the same as for the first row. So just one half double crochet into each stitch around until you have worked into every stitch. So I'm almost at the end now. Okay, I'm going to work into the final stitch here. So I'm going to insert my hook, pull up a loop, and I've completed my half double crochet. It may look as though there is a stitch remaining, but that is the slip stitch and we do not work into the slip stitch. So we're going to skip that. You should have 29 stitches all the way around. You are then going to slip stitch to the first half double crochet to join, and we are going to continue. We're going to chain 1, half double crochet into that first stitch and into each stitch around, and this is what we're going to continue to do now until we have a total of 7 rows. So 1, 2, this will be number 3, and we keep going until we have a total of 7 rows. So another 4 more rows to go to give us that height. I'm going to work those rows off camera, and then I will come back and show you what to do next. So there we have our 7 rows, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now I have completed the main body of the cup cozy. I'm going to show you how to create this little decorative edge. This is using the crab stitch or the reverse single crochet. So it's quite simple. If you can single crochet, you can absolutely do this stitch. So whereas normally we would work from right to left along our work, for this stitch, because it is the reverse, we are going to go from left to right. So we've chained 1. Instead of going into the first stitch from the left of our chain, we are actually going to go into the first stitch from the right. So you need to skip over the slip stitch and go into the first half double crochet stitch. So as a normal single crochet, you would insert your hook, pull up a loop so that there are 2 loops on your hook, which can be a bit tricky to see when it's twisted this way. Then you would yarn over and pull through. Now your stitch will look twisted, but that's what we want because that's what's going to give us this effect along the border. So again, you are going to insert your hook into the next stitch, but the next stitch to the right. So we insert our hook, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through both loops. Into the next stitch, insert your hook, pull up a loop. Ooh, my yarn's splitting there, which is not good. So insert your hook into the next stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through, and we're just going to keep doing that all the way around this final row. And you can already see that it's creating that twisted look along the top, which I just think is a really pretty decorative border. Of course, if you didn't want to do this, you could just do standard single crochets going around the final row as you normally would. But I just think this adds something a little bit extra special, a nice decorative finish to your cup cozy. You want to try and keep your tension quite loose for this stitch, otherwise it can become a bit of a strain to pull your hook through those loops. So just one more, and then you are going to just pull up a loop with your yarn, and then I like to insert my hook from the back through that first stitch, pop the loop back on and tighten, and then pull it through just to secure that end, and then yarn over and pull through. Leave the loop as is. I'm going to grab my scissors and I'm just going to snip the end there, and then pull that tail through and pull to tighten, and then we can weave in our ends. We have got a beautiful border around our cup cozy, and we are ready to add in our applique if you would like to do so. So I will just show you how I weave in my ends. So thread the yarn into your needle. So for this starting row, where we worked in a row and then joined, we've got a little bit that needs joining. So I just come through this first chain and pull that to join, and then go back through the other side. And then on the inside of my cup cozy, I will just weave my ends through. You want to try and go in a forwards and backwards motion at least 3 times, I say. I know that when I first started to crochet, I would spend ages weaving in ends, going forwards and backwards and up and down so many times. It was definitely overkill. But I find the power of 3 is normally a good way to go. And then same with the top end, but this time you can just weave in the end. We don't need to join anything together as we were already working in the round. A good thing to do when weaving in ends is to try and sort of split the stitch and go through the fibres. It just gives a little bit of extra support. And there we have our completed cup cozy, and it's ready for the applique if you so choose to have one. We can check it next to our cardboard one. So don't worry if you can see that the cardboard one is coming out a little bit at the side. This goes from thinner to a bit wider. We don't need that with the crochet because it will stretch to fit your cup. So there we have the completed sleeve, and we are ready to work on the applique. I'm now going to show you how to make the pumpkin applique for the cup cozy. For this you are going to need some scrap pumpkin shade yarn. This is a super chunky yarn, and I will be using a 6.5mm hook to go with this. Unfortunately, this yarn is left over from some bonnets that I made last year, and I don't actually remember what the brand or the shade is. I just know that I really love the colour. So if anybody thinks they recognise that and might know what it is, that would be much appreciated. You are then going to need some green or brown for the little stalk, and this is Aran weight yarn, and I will be using a 4mm hook when doing that part. For the pumpkin itself, you could use a lighter weight yarn, so you could use Aran, and then for that I would recommend a 5mm hook, and it will just give you a pumpkin that is a little bit smaller. So I'm going to take my yarn, just going to pop that out of the way, And for this we are going to begin with a magic circle. So how I begin mine is by taking the yarn and I hold one end between my thumb and finger, and then around my two fingers I'm going to wrap the yarn, and it's going to create a cross at the bottom, and then they will be parallel along the top. I take my hook, go under the first bar, grab that, pull through, and then I make a sort of scoop and twist motion, grab the yarn and pull through the loop to secure, and there is my magic circle that I can now work into. So everything is worked into this magic circle, and it's just one round for the pumpkin. So we're going to begin with a single crochet. So insert your hook and pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through both loops on your hook. Now we are going to work a total of 7 double crochet into the magic circle. So yarn over, insert your hook and pull up a loop, yarn over again, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, and we have created 1 double crochet. So I'm going to do that another 6 times for a total of 7 double crochet. Yarn over, insert my hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. So I need 7 total double crochet. So 3, 4, 5, 6. So if you feel like the end is getting a bit short or you're running out of room, just sort of push those stitches around and then you've got more room to work. So final one for 7. And then I'm going to do 1 more single crochet into that magic circle. But before I do that, I'm just going to tighten it up a little bit by pulling on that tail. So into the magic circle, a single crochet. And then I'm going to remove my hook. I'm going to grab the tail and I'm going to pull as tightly as I can. And there we have the pumpkin. So I'm going to grab my scissors and snip that end. And I'm just going to pull. I'm going to chain and pull that yarn through just to finish that stitch. And then when we sew in our ends, we will sew them down and it will give us this little indent bit here for the pumpkin shape. And I'm going to sew in my ends now before we do the stem. So I'm going to thread my yarn through the needle, and then working on the back of the pumpkin, I'm just going to weave that through some of the stitches. Now this doesn't have to be too neat because you're not going to be able to see the back once it's attached. Just trim the end and then do the same for the other end. Ooh, my yarn splitting again. So I'm just going to weave that in through the back. And then I'm going to snip that off. So there is our little pumpkin shape. Also looks a little bit like a heart. But now I'm going to grab my 4mm hook. Just going to move these bits out of the way. and my Aran weight yarn in the green, ready to make the stem. So first I need to attach my yarn to the pumpkin, so I'm going to insert my hook through the centre, which will be the magic circle. So it goes through the pumpkin. I'm going to yarn over and just pull that through, and then leaving a bit of a tail, I've now got a loop on my hook, and I am going to yarn over and pull through like a chain and then pull that end to tighten. Now I am ready to begin, and I'm going to chain 4. So 1, 2, 3 and 4, and then into the second chain from the hook I'm going to work a single crochet, and then into the next 2 chains I'm going to do a half double crochet. And now I'm going to insert my hook back into the magic circle and pull up a loop, and then just slip stitch that together, and it just secures that stem in place. I'm going to grab my scissors and snip that end, and then I can pull that through. So now you have your stem in place. You're going to want to take one of those ends, the first one that you started with usually, and you're going to weave that in just to secure. Again, this doesn't have to be perfect because you're not going to be able to see it. I'm just going to grab my scissors and snip that end. If you are going to sew your applique onto your cup cozy, so if you're going to sew it on, then this end is long enough to sew that stem. If you are going to use a glue gun, you can just weave in this end and fasten off, and then you would just glue your pumpkin onto your cup cozy. The reason that I weave in the ends of the pumpkin before the stem and don't leave a long tail there is just for ease of attaching the stem and having less ends of yarn getting in the way. But for now I'm going to grab some more of the pumpkin coloured yarn. You don't need too long a strand, and I'm going to use this to sew my pumpkin applique onto the cup cozy. I am a big fan of glue gunning appliques on instead of sewing because it's a lot less fiddly, but I know not everybody has a glue gun. So you're going to want to take your cup cozy and you find the side that sort of looks best to you, what you want to be the front. Work out where you want your pumpkin to go. I normally have it just above the first row, and then that gives room for the stem. And then coming from the back, insert your tapestry needle, come through the cup cozy, and then through one of the stitches for the pumpkin, pull it through, leaving a little tail that you can weave in at the end, and then I just work around the pumpkin, attaching that to the main body of the cozy. It doesn't take too long to sew these on because they are little. Can be a little bit fiddly. Move that tail out of the way for now. You just sort of keep turning your work as you go, just to give you the best angle for working your stitches. And then I think, yeah, I'm back to where I started. So I would just pull that through and then double check that I like the placement. If not, now is the best time to change that. So I'm going to just tie a knot in those two ends. And then I will weave these in just to get them out of the way for sewing on the stem. So now the pumpkin is nicely in place. We just need to use this end to sew in the stem. It's up to you whether you want to sort of push it round at an angle, if you want it straight up. It's completely your choice. I usually go with a bit of an angle, so I would just push that down whilst I insert my hook through the first stitch to anchor that in place. And then you're just going to work around, same as before. Needle didn't want to go in then. So there we have the stem, and you can see it's not particularly neat on the inside. I'm sure yours could be a lot neater than mine, but I also don't really think it matters because you cannot see it once it is on your cup. So fasten off your ends, and there you have one pumpkin cup cozy, ready to adorn all of your favourite autumnal beverages. Personally, I prefer a chai tea latte to a pumpkin spice latte, which I know is, you know, controversial opinions during pumpkin season, but there you go. So there's the one that we've just made together, and this is the one that I had before. You can see they're not identical. This stem's perhaps a little bit wonkier than this one, but hey ho, there we go. I really hope you've enjoyed this video. If you do make your own pumpkin cup cozies, I would love to see them, so do tag me in your social media posts, and I look forward to seeing you next time.